Shema Israel Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Buddham Sharanam Gacchami Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami Sangam Sharanam Gacchami Hashem Vahu Varishte Masti Ushtasti Ushtahai Yatashai Adishtai Hashem. Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise God, all creatures here below. Praise God above the heavenly hosts. Creator, Christ and Holy Ghost. Bismillah. Kulu Allahu Ahad, Allahu Samad, Lam Yalid, Walam Yulad, Walam Yakul Lahu Kufuwan Ahad. Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Om Saishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tannah Sarva Prachodayat.
Manasa bajore प्रणाम at the lotus feet of Bhagavan Shri Satya Sai Baba. Sairam, everyone. Sairam. Welcome, brothers, sisters, elders, kids. A warm welcome to the Beaverton Sai Center, the Satya Sai Baba Center of Beaverton. Today we celebrate Swami's Maha Samadhi Day. And I'll go ahead and give you a brief run-through of our schedule, and then we will have Brother Harish Naidu speaking. So after Brother Harish Naidu speaks, we will have a short 10 to 15 minute break. We will, after that, reconvene and have a personal experience sharing session. So be ready. After that, we will have an hour of devotional singing. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. So after that, we will have 1 hour of devotional singing, and we'll wrap up with Arti. So Brother Harish Naidu needs not much of an introduction. We all are pretty familiar with him. He was our former, I can feel some squealing. He was our former regional president. He's been with Swami his whole life, very close to Swami, and he now serves as the National Service Coordinator. Funny how that works. So without further ado, Brother Harish.
Sairam, everyone. It's great to be here. Sunil was telling me about this whole formless altar. We were just talking about it over lunch, that if Swami's form is there, then that's all you have to worry about. Now we have to worry about so many other forms. The chair and everything else. It's an interesting topic. But before I go there, this altar stuff reminded me of an altar story I wanted to share. This was again from the Bhagavatam, the story of Krishna. And apparently once Arjuna asked Krishna, who do you think is your greatest devotee? And of course, Krishna knew that Arjuna was expecting, of course it's you, my dear. But Krishna had, some other ideas. So he said, come along, I will show you my greatest devotee. So they both went over to this old lady's home, and they were disguised. And this old lady invited both of them inside. And Arjuna was very curious, why is this old lady who really was insignificant really caught Krishna's attention. So he was like, oh, we would love to see your altar. He was wanting to pay his respects to the altar of the old lady. So the old lady said, of course, please come on in. And she took them to her altar. And interestingly, the altar had only 3 knives. A small one, a little bigger one, and then a really big one. And she was praying and that was her altar. And so Arjuna was obviously very curious. He said, what is this? How is this person a devotee? So he was sort of curious, and he asked, can you please give me some explanation? What is this all about? The lady said, I have reserved these knives for 3 people. And when I see them, I'm going to punish them. So, really, who are these people? So, this first knife is for this man. His name is Kuchela. You know who Kuchela Sudama is? He was a friend of Krishna, and at one point he had gone to visit Krishna and asking him for some favors. So she said, this man, Sudama, he took some really old food to my Lord and gave it to him, 2 days old, stale. My Lord had to eat it. She put him through so much trouble just because he wanted some favors. So that little knife is for him. And then she said, the second knife? The second knife is for this woman. She is Draupadi. You know who Draupadi is? So you know what? She actually had to call my Lord from Dwaraka. And he had to come to Hastinapur. And he had to have his hand up the whole day until that fellow was tired. Instead of her just leaving and running away from that place, she made my Lord come there and hold up his hand the whole day. So that second knife is for her. And then she said, who is this really big knife for? So this knife is for the biggest culprit of all of them. This fellow, he made my Lord be his charioteer. He is the worst of the 3. He said he made my Lord wash his horses. He put his feet on my Lord's shoulders. Because that's how when you're riding the chariot, the feet has to be on the charioteer's shoulder and you have to, tell which direction you're going. He is the worst culprit in this world. And when I see him, his head has to be chopped off. So anyway, obviously Arjuna was very humbled by that. So who knows how the Lord works in so many different ways. This is a book that I have been having in my laptop case for last year and a half. And, in the previous job, in the job I was having, I would travel a lot. I did lots of miles last year. So many air trips around the country. I never opened this book. But 2 weeks ago I opened it. And I just randomly picked a discourse and read it. And 3 days later, I get a text from Sunil saying, I'm going to talk about this formless thing. So this discourse was all about that. So I know that Swami wants me to share a few things from this discourse. So we'll start with some quotes, a quote from here. I'm going to spend about maybe 20 minutes making some remarks about this whole aspect of formless. And then we'll go into some sort of interaction. I have some questions. We can then open it up and everybody can share their perspective. Obviously, this is just a perspective. I'm as an aspirant just like you are. And this is a topic, this is very unique and personal, intimate, and everyone has to figure it out for themselves, but we can certainly talk about it. So here is a quote from this discourse. Of the form and formless forms of worship, which is better and which is more feasible and useful to the devotees? The Bhagavad Gita has dwelt at length on this aspect. Without practicing worshipping God with a form and attributes initially, we cannot worship God without a form and attributes. As long as there is body consciousness and body attachment, man cannot contemplate on the formless aspect of God. As long as man thinks, I am the body, I have a body, I am a human being, etc., etc., it is not possible for anybody to attain this formless aspect of divinity. Therefore, a devotee or an aspirant must invariably start worshipping God with a form and attributes in the beginning. When this goes on for some time, he can gradually switch over to the formless worship, nevertheless still having a firm footing in the form aspect of God. So worshipping God with the form is important. In fact, necessary. It is invariable, it is important, it cannot be waived. In fact, formless doesn't exist without form. So, Swami is very, very particular in this discourse that be very careful about going away from the form. If you are absolutely certain that you are immersed in the formless aspect, then perhaps it's okay. So what is the meaning of worshipping the form? That is therefore a question to ask. What is the meaning of worshipping a form of God? In the Prema Vahini, Swami gives a very, very clear and simple answer to that question. Swami says that we are attracted to an attribute of the form. First. So let us say we are all attracted to the form of Swami. Maybe that's a safe assumption to make in this group. But we are attracted by some quality that Swami has. It may be his love, it may be his soft speech, it may be his acts of service, it may be a lot of something. Something attracts us to Swami. Some quality of Swami attracts us to him. The reason we worship then is to acquire and manifest for ourselves, in ourselves, that quality. That is the purpose of worship. And through the purpose of worship, through achieving the purpose of worship, we acquire that quality ourselves. At which point, the object of worship and the worshipper becomes one and the same. In Prema Vahini, Swami has explained this very clearly. So, and this is actually pretty intuitive. It is not very difficult to understand, because if you take any particular material role, take the area of sports, for instance. There are many who aspire to be a Michael Jordan. Right? If you want to be a great basketball player, you're aspiring to be a Michael Jordan. So you start off like that. You have maybe big posters of Michael Jordan in your room. You probably watch videos of Michael Jordan. You probably are practicing and thinking about how he dribbles and sticks his tongue out or whatever. And then you maybe go watch his game. Then maybe you ask him to coach you. And over time, you begin to play like him. Right? It's pretty normal. Everybody has some role model. And you want to become like that. So in the same way, this is not different. This is a form. It's a different purpose. It's a spiritual purpose. And we are attracted to some quality in that form. And if you want to worship that form, really it becomes meaningful only when we begin to manifest that quality over time. Otherwise, it is a meaningless exercise. We can create altars and we can create lots of rituals. We can sing lots of songs. We can go do lots of service projects. We can do a lot of study circles. But if you are not acquiring that quality that attracted you to Swami in the first place, then it's not very useful. So, once we acquire those qualities, the form becomes less important. The other thing that Swami, there's one statement that Swami, we had an interview with Swami in 2002, and he made a very specific statement. He said, "You put me on a pedestal and worship me, and that is wrong. I am in you, you are in me. You and I are one. That is the right attitude." So, you and I are one. So Swami certainly wants us to experience that oneness with him. He's saying, you have been worshipping me for decades, or however long you've been worshipping. But it's time to experience oneness with me. So what does that mean? Obviously it does not mean wearing a red robe and giving darshans. But it certainly means that quality that we want, we start manifesting that. Maybe we always be kindly, independently of the situation. There you can say, okay, now I'm developing that oneness. Or you can say, hey, I feel, when I see somebody in difficulty, I feel their pain. Because Swami does. And I'm moved into action spontaneously. I've acquired that quality. Now you can say, I'm developing that oneness with Swami. So, how we make progress is entirely up to us. We have to constantly, by immersing ourselves in enjoying His qualities and loving those qualities and thinking about it and contemplating on it and meditating on it, we begin to also act like it. There is another quote that Swami says very often, and perhaps many of you know about this. He says, it is not okay to worship a picture as God. But it is okay to worship God as a picture. It is not okay to worship a picture as God, but it is okay to worship God as a picture. So what does that mean? Yes, sir.
But it's okay. He's okay to worship him as he is a picture, but don't take a picture and imagine it to be him.
That's wonderful. Maybe you should come here. Good job. Good job. So, if you take it to the next step, what does it mean to worship a picture as God? What does that mean? Suppose, how do we know you're worshipping a picture as God and not God as a picture?
But you think only the picture is God and everything else is just a regular object. You don't see God in everything.
Right. And typically, how does that manifest?
As a deity?
No, that sort of, typically what happens when you worship a picture as God is, in the presence of the picture, whatever it is, we are very, very kind and very controlled and compassionate and loving. We smile. But when the picture is not there, we are back to our normal selves. Swami says it all the time, right? You come to Puttaparthi, you are very kind, you are very loving, you say Sai Ram to everybody, you sit down, you're not upset about anything, you listen, you take notes when I speak. But the moment you leave Prashantilayam, you're back to your games. So that is a direct manifestation of worshipping a picture as God. As long as you're in front of the picture, Prashantilayam in this case, we are all very, very good. But when we are not in the presence of God, then we are not as vigilant. We drop our guard. Right? We experience that, don't we? Even right now we probably experience. I'm sure we're all very kind to each other in the center. But maybe at home we have a different conversation with our spouses, maybe. Who knows? Or at work, or whatever it is. So worshipping a picture, worshipping God as a picture, on the other hand, means that, this is just one manifestation, one aspect of God. God is in everything. So you begin to learn how to live in the presence of God. Prashanti Nilayam is you. You are Prashanti Nilayam. Therefore, you always have to be like how you are in Prashanti Nilayam. Swami has said many times. So when we begin to recognize that there is God's presence everywhere, now you are beginning to move away from this picture. We do this all the time. On festival days, we are very, very, we do all the right things, maybe. We get up at 5 o'clock, we have a shower, new clothes, this, that. But not every day. Swami asked me, why only that day? Am I not present in the other day? Swami asked these questions. Another person, for me personally, when I was growing up, I loved my chicken biryani. As long as Prashanti Nilayam, I couldn't eat it. So on Thursdays, no chicken. On Fridays, full. So then again somebody asked me the question, why only on Thursdays? So, no, Thursday is Swami's day. What about Friday? So this is all a delusional thing. It is worshipping a picture as God. Thursday a picture is there. Friday it's not there. So I can do what I want. So these kinds of things are just, Swami said, it's all very beginning, early stages. You got to move way past that. Now, the form is important. We talked about it. Really, the form and formless are tightly, intricately coupled. We can't talk about formless unless we talk about form. The formless has form in it. But Swami gives different ways of thinking about it. Swami says, when you're awake, you're listening to a discourse that Swami gives. You're sitting in Prashanti Nilayam. It's a gross aspect. But when you leave for the day or many weeks into the future, you could recollect the discourse that has been imprinted now in your mind. And you can enjoy it again and again and again. That's a subtle aspect. So Swami says that the formless is more permanent than the form. So the ability for you to meditate, sit back, enjoy the experience is a more permanent thing. You can enjoy it any time. But the actual physical occurrence of the event was impermanent. So that is one way to think about form and formless. When you sit down and meditate and you ruminate on your experiences, there is a formless aspect. But it is derived from the form, derived from your experiences with the form. So the notion that the formless represents the common entity, which is divinity in everything, is something that Swami continuously stresses upon. He says, milk is one, cows are many. You must have heard these statements. Gold is one, ornaments are many. Right? So, Atma is one, human beings are many. So that awareness that there is that unity, that oneness, that basis is also a formless aspect of worship. Why is the form so important? Swami keeps stressing that it is important. It's because it's hard for us to experience the formless without understanding the form. Swami gives another example, another analogy. He says, you have just a ball of cotton, but you also have a pillow which is a ball of cotton formed into a pillow, right? So that cotton is formless, but the pillow is a form. The form makes the pillow useful. the form makes the cotton useful, right? So as long as we are living in this material world, the form is important, but it is derived from also the formless. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the experience of the form is an important thing to understand the formless. If you read the book Seva, A Flower at His Lotus Feet, that's an interesting book. In that, Swami says, again, we offer flowers. Over here we have flowers. And this is a very form aspect of worship. Sakara, as Swami calls it, or form aspect. But really, once we go to the formless or nirakara aspect, Swami says the flowers you offer are what? Your compassion, your love, your patience. These are the formless flowers, which is much more important. Cannot stop with this. In fact, we've got to rapidly move from this. The other aspect of formless is simply practicing Swami's message in your daily lives. Is a formless aspect of worship. I was just telling the coordinators that Swami said that put into practice at least one of my teachings every day as proof that you know me. That is a formless aspect of worship. He's not saying, have a big picture in your house and take camphor and wave flame around it, and that is the practice. That's not what he's saying. He's saying practice one of my teachings every day as proof that you know me. That is also a way of practicing the formless. So we have to move from the formless, or from the form to the formless. Another analogy that also sticks to my mind is that Swami said that the form is like a pole that you use in the pole vault. It takes you all the way to the end, almost to the end. But if you want to cross over, you have to ultimately let go of the pole. So there is a time when that form becomes not relevant. But until we are there, we have to keep moving forward. Swami is our inspiration. He has imprinted himself in our hearts. He is always with us. We live in his presence. This attitude is niraka or formless. He is imprinted in our hearts. He is always with us. We live in his presence. This is formless. But what does that mean? Ultimately, that should enable us to act in a following way, in a certain way. And Swami talks about that in this discourse again. If we in fact have Swami imprinted in our hearts, if we in fact are living in his presence, then Swami says, such a devotee should always be happy, contented and peaceful. He should not give scope for any pain or sorrow in his heart. A devotee should never allow bad qualities like anger, envy, jealousy, hatred, and carrying tales to enter into his mind. These are literally enemies to him and hinder his progress on the devotional path. He must be alike to everybody. If you hate anybody, it amounts to hating the God whom you worship. If you take any action against anybody out of ego, it amounts to taking action on the very same God whom you worship. This is why the Gita has said, never develop hatred towards anyone. This is the most important warning to us. Just as the seeds sown in a field do not sprout without cleaning the field beforehand, similarly, God's grace cannot be obtained without shedding the bad qualities in us. This is so in spite of any amount of practices we may undertake. This also teaches us to treat others as embodiments of the divine. It is not enough if you worship God alone. You must love and respect all beings. Worshipping God and tormenting the beings does not amount to devotion. This is ignorance. So Swami gives us very clearly what we should be like if we do in fact live in the presence of Swami. So with those comments, I'd like to sort of have an interactive discussion. I have a few questions that I'd like to pose, and then have each of you or anybody just share some of your thoughts. And then we'll also bring Swami's form into the discussion. So, do you have the first one? Just open this PowerPoint. Yeah, just play there. Yeah, go to the next one. Okay, here's the first question. Is the name and form of God real, or is it a figment of imagination? Doesn't matter. Whatever answer you give is the right answer. Yes, sir.
We who have experienced Baba know that it's real, but there are a lot of people who doubt God who say it is a figment of human imagination.
Okay. So if you have not experienced perhaps a form of God, then it probably is a figment of imagination.
No, I'm not saying it is. No, that's what you read in the newspapers and magazines quotes by people who call themselves atheists,
right,
or secular humanists, and many of them will say it's just a figment of human imagination. That's their answer.
Right.
And whereas we who have really experienced God know that the name and form of God is real because we've experienced it.
I'd like to take a slightly different take on that, and I would say, in fact, we who experience the name or form of God should realize it's actually a figment of imagination, because God is again formless and nameless. It's another slightly different take.
Swami has said, Daivam Manisha Rupena. That means that God comes as human form many times. So I feel the name and form of God is as real as our own form. Our own form is also not real at some level. And it's, in the same way, name and form of God is not real at some level. But it is kind of relative truth at some point.
It's God is formless, is what he said. But God has form is relatively true.
Yeah, it's as true as our own forms.
As true as our form. Okay.
Yeah. So to paraphrase what he said, I guess, as long as a human being exists, then
The
the
form
name and form
is real. Okay?
God is real, and the name and form is a figment of human imagination, and God in His immense benevolence will come to us in whatever name and form we call.
That's interesting. So you're saying that God, the formless, assumes a form because in order to satisfy our imagination, right?
In
Is
order
what
to satisfy our devotion.
Well, yeah. Satisfy our devotion, but we have imagined the form, and so the formless takes that form. Somebody else had? Yeah, Tina?
Yeah, Brother Shri had said the idea of relatively real.
Yeah.
That is relatively real as a representation of what is actually real. So just as you're saying. Our forms are also of that nature, as is all of creation in the material world. The form is there to help us contact that in this form, but represents that which is actually. So I'm just saying relative.
Yeah. Form is relatively real. Yes, sir.
Yeah, God is real, but he has, he has imagined in several different ways. Like you think of Lord Shiva, comes the picture of Ganga and Trishul, and you think of Rama, there comes the arrow, and and you think of Lord Krishna, the flute comes. This is a figment of the people, but the God is our real, our born in their different times. Same like our parents, like I have my dad, and he was with me life, but he's gone now. But was he real? Yes, he was. I think the same.
Yes, ma'am.
I think today we tend to be very suspicious of the imagination because of the scientific tradition that we've all grown up in. But I think what often we can experience in our imagination is closer to the truth than what we experience on the material level.
Can you sort of elaborate?
Well, I think Swami sometimes uses our imagination to manifest himself, and we can get the truth or come very close to the truth through this process with Swami. But I think many people are so indoctrinated by science, and they prefer to understand the truth through the five senses, which actually is not very helpful at all. So I think the imagination, creative imagination, is helpful on this path.
Sarah.
As far as I am concerned, I think the name and form are real. Since the name has got some meaning, and form also, then only we can put it in our mind and we can imagine. So Swami himself has told you and me are one. Just to make you understand that I have realized that I am God, you are not realized you are God. That's why I have come in the human form. So he was physically alive in front of us for so many years. So I think name and form are real.
Sarah. Other thoughts? Yes, sir.
So this is a very materialistic word. Unless God himself appears in the form of a human and has a name, there's no purpose of we being in a human form and having a name ourselves, because Swami says there's God in you, and that you have the very nature of we being in a human form is to realize the human form. So this question becomes irrelevant to people who does not know, who actually argue whether God is real or not.
Then what does it mean for you?
So as humans, since this is a materialistic world, this human form and we having a form and a name is something that that God has manifested upon us for us to realize that we and God are one.
Okay. All right. We can. That's all good. We'll just see what Swami says about it also. Hit play, the mouse. Is it volume here? There's no volume.
భగవంతులకు ఎట్టి మార్పులు కూడా ఉండవు. తాను చావును పుట్టుక లేనట్టి శాశ్వతుడు, ఆది మధ్యాంతర ఇతడు అనాదేవాడు. అతను శాశ్వతమైనటువంటి ఆత్మస్వరూపుడే. అట్టి ఆత్మస్వరూపుడికి శుభనామం కల్పించడము కేవలము మానవుల యొక్క కర్తవ్యము, మానవుల యొక్క ప్రార్థన.
Okay, let's go to the next question. Both. The volume is not loud enough. Next time when you play it, can you please make it louder? Is God form or God formless?
Just go to Baba's answer.
No, all of us are Baba here.
God is formless because you can experience Him in a non-material state, in your heart, in your mind, in your action. So there is no real form. There's no material form there, but there is an experience that all of us go through that we ascribe to God.
Okay. But what about the forms of God that we worship?
Just your imagination.
Well, then God has a form, but it's a formless. It's like air, It's all over, but you cannot feel it. But there is a form,
But why do we build temples and churches?
Well,
To the form. Why do we glorify the form of God? If that is indeed true.
To remind us.
To remind us that He is form.
God is there, and we, like you said, special days we go to the temple and, do all the right things and are good to everyone. And yes, as human beings we forget that when we come out, He's coming out with us too. We just leave Him in the temple and then...
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Well, this, both in the groups here and around the world that I've been with, so many people, when they talk about Baba, they talk about him in his form, and they seem really attached to Baba in the form. And so here he is, and there he was when I was in India in the form. At the same time, he was giving me experience away from this form. So I had the experience with this form, and he told me things personally that nobody else could have known. At the same time, I had experiences that his form couldn't have possibly done without being beyond the form. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, sir.
I think we attribute a form to God for our temple because we as humans are incapable of showing love to something that's formless. I think it's more about if we attribute a form, we can show all our love and affection towards that. Is I think also one of the reasons we have deities and all that, so that we can worship and shower our affection and love.
Yes.
I think God is form and formless. Think about the form. We are all reflections of God. Swami has said, I am you and you are I. So I see all these forms of God here. And formless is also real, and form is also real, I think.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It's interesting, right? Swami gives an example of the gopis, where they loved Krishna so much. They loved Krishna so much that they could not see anything else but Krishna. So they would see Krishna in everything, in everyone. So they were able to maybe straddle the boundary between form and formless. Right? If in fact we can experience Swami in every one of us, then it's possible to love each other the same way we love Swami. So we are sort of straddling the boundary there between form and formless. We are kind of saying, yeah, there is a form, but that form is in everything. So it's really formless. I think that's what you're saying. But to really live like that means that we treat everybody like Swami. If we really believe it, if we really experience that, if we really believe that Swami is in everyone, that means that however we would have behaved with Swami, that's how we would behave with everyone. Right? So we've got to, I guess, figure out where we stand. Maybe this is our belief, maybe our practice is here, maybe there is a gap, and we're going to work on closing it. But we've got to have some statement, some belief somewhere. You can say Swami is everybody, but I know that I do not behave like that. If Swami is here, probably we would be behaving very differently right now, if the form is here. Right? So how do we get past that? And how do we make progress towards that?
So we've heard many times, right, that when the atrocities in the world increases and there's a lot of, sin and, people are disturbed and when there is unhappiness, then God does take form of, as a human being, just to be in the presence and then, show that love. And people need those teachings on an everyday basis. To listen and practice, you have to absorb it. So I do feel that that's the reason for the form where, and then people look forward to that kind of, even saints and God, they look forward to that kind of teachings. And then you listen about Rama's and the Hanuman's bhakti for Rama, and you develop that kind of devotion. Not that kind, at least you'll develop devotion. And you mentioned about Gopikas and the love for Krishna. And when you sing bhajans on Krishna, you imagine that you're loving, you have that love. So I feel that it's more like for the human need that, we need that peace and contentment in our day-to-day life.
I mean, I'm just saying, I think the trap with the form is that you feel the love when you're singing bhajans. But then when you're out there interacting with the 7-Eleven counter, you're not feeling that love. That's the trap with the form, right? We have to get past that and say, look, I feel the love, period, at some point. Because the goal is to feel like that every time, everywhere, all the time.
And that's your inner conscience, right? Your inner conscience is the God who keeps guiding you all the time, every step.
Yeah. You talked about how the avatars happen when there is a decline in dharma. Once Swami said this, he said, really that is a side effect. I come because there are good people who want to come, me to come. The elimination of adharma is a side effect of my presence. It is not the reason I'm here. Rama went to the forest to spend time with the rishis because they prayed. The fact that the Rakshasas were eliminated is a side effect. That's what Swami said. So Swami came not because there's a lot of corruption here. There are people somewhere sitting in the Himalayas maybe praying for his presence, and he came. Sadhus prayed and I came, Swami says. Okay, let's see what Swami has to say. Can you pause it please and play the audio? You can use this mic if that's not working. This is a discourse Swami gave, I think, just a year or before, 2000.
నాకు రాముడు అది ఉన్నంత వరకు నీవు ఆనందంగా ఉంటుంటావు. తర్వాత ఇంకా సుఖం ఎక్కడి నుంచి వస్తుంది? ఈ సుఖము నీ భ్రాంతి నుంచి వచ్చినటువంటి కానీ మరొక చోటు నుంచి రాదు.
So, any thoughts on that? I think some of us express this point. That Swami, the formless takes the form that we want, so that to satisfy our needs or desire. And it's okay, Swami says, that we feel like worshipping that form and derive bliss from it. But then he asks the question, but what if the form goes away? You are now all of a sudden sad and despondent. Somebody, any thoughts on that? So that's an important. He says it came out of the bliss, came out of your own imagination, did not come from the form.
I go back to your pole vault analogy. I think the form is a good pole to hold on to, especially as human beings. Until Swami has told us we are divine, but we're born with our own limitations, and we choose not to accept it and live within this linear of our own existence and our own limitations. So that pole gives you it's uplifting. It gives you hope that you are more than just this human self, and it uplifts you. But that real challenge, I think, at the end is, are you going to, when you leave the pole, fall flat or get across? So I think that's the important thing. And as long as you train yourself to kind of launch yourself further and move to that blissful place, I think that's the expectation, at least.
Saira?
Yes.
Can I interrupt?
Sure.
Sorry. Is it okay with you if we all absorb this video over break and
you take a break right now?
Yeah. Is it not a good time?
And come back and continue?
And exactly.
Sure. It's up to
come
you.
back and continue exactly where we left off. Just to kind of stay on schedule. If that's okay with everyone, we can do that.
Yeah. It's okay.
Can go on?
Yeah.
Cool. Let's go on then.
I think the important question Swami is saying is here that you derive the bliss from the form, but when the form is gone, what happens to the bliss? The bliss came from within you to begin with. I think that's the point Swami is making here. And how do you keep tapping into that bliss, even without the form? This is the next question. So this is just another statement that Swami made. When Swami, today we are celebrating, recognizing Swami's departure from the physical body. And obviously all of us were around when that really happened, correct? We were all here. And how did we feel when that happened? What kind of feelings did we have when we heard about it? Sadness. Any other feeling? No sadness?
Surprised, because of the years, we had heard he said, and then when it happened.
So why did he leave prematurely?
We heard 95, and then that later we heard that it was because he was speaking in the Hindu calendar. But at first, a lot of people were surprised.
But were you sad about it? Or no?
Because it's his doing, and I already knew he was formless. I already knew.
I was initially angry.
You were angry?
Yeah.
That he left too soon?
Yeah.
Without checking in with you?
Sarah?
Yes.
Initially I was sad and I was the same. I was angry with Swami that he left his body without letting the devotees to know that he's going to go away from his body. That we will not be able to see his form again, his darshan again. But later my mom was not angry or sad or anything. She was the same. I was inquiring about her, and I heard the Professor Anil Kumar's speech. He referred the day as Thanksgiving Day because Swami is formless, timeless, boundless energy, everything. But he took a form for us that we can enjoy him, hear him, we can see him, we show our love to him, everything. So he referred as Thanksgiving Day. From that moment I didn't feel anything, either sad or happy or anything. Yes, he is formless, and it's a Thanksgiving Day. And I take him 85 years, 86. He lived with us. We were able to see him, touch him, please him, service him, do everything, whatever we want. So Swami, about his own body, he always mentioned that his body is perishable. This is not his true self. So that day we were sad and we were angry, but later then the Thanksgiving Day is a simple thing that finished everything.
Tina?
Sad for myself that I can no longer go and be in his presence. Of course, that's something so special, and we all know that. And to not have that anymore. But at the same time, and then, having been there in Puttaparthi when he was in the hospital, and feeling this strong intensity of what was happening with this, in a sense, an ascendancy that was going on, that was so much bigger. That in that way I felt an extreme bliss that for the universe and for what he had come to do, this was a big step and was going to increase what his mission was about. And for that, I could just feel that this was happening, not knowing intellectually what it meant, but just feeling that this was something very important and that we should feel good about in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we all had mixed feelings. I certainly did. I was sad. I was real upset. I was maybe angry, like Sunil was saying. But actually Swami has said many times, he has given us so much indication of this. And in this, even in this particular discourse, he has given us the indication. Can you play that, please?
ఇప్పుడు ఈ శరీరం కూడా ఉన్నది. ఈ శరీరంగా వచ్చినప్పుడు ఎన్నో మార్పులు జరుగుతుంటాయి. ఇది ఇంకా కొంతకాలంలో
Can you make it full screen? Just hit play there, yeah.
ఇప్పుడు ఈ శరీరం కూడా ఉన్నది. ఈ శరీరంగా వచ్చినప్పుడు ఎన్నో మార్పులు జరుగుతుంటాయి. ఇది ఇంకా కొంతకాలంలో ఈ శరీరం మీకు కనిపించకుండా పోవచ్చును. కానీ మీరు అప్పుడు బాధపడటం సహజం కాదు. తన స్వస్థానంలో తాను చేరుకున్నప్పుడు మీరు ఆనందించవలసిందే కానీ బాధపడకూడదు. కనుక శరీరమును ఎప్పటికైనా అశాశ్వతముడు, అసత్యముడే. దేహం కూరక తప్పదెప్పుడు దేహి దయామయుడు కరుణింపక దేహికి చావు పుట్టుకలు మోహ నిబంధ బంధనలు ముద్రలు లేవు. కనుక మీరు ఎప్పుడు కూడా దేహాన్ని మీరు పెద్దదిగా శాశ్వతంగా భావించరాదు. ఆయా కాలంలో, ఆయా పరిస్థితులు, ఆ యొక్క సమయము, సందర్భంలో వచ్చినప్పుడు మాత్రమే ఆ దేహమును కనిపిస్తాయి. ఆ కాలం వచ్చినప్పటికీ తిరిగి ఆ యొక్క దేహములు కానీ, ఆ యొక్క అనుభవములు కానీ ఏమాత్రం కూడా ఉండవు. కనుక మీరు దేహాన్ని సత్యమని భావించుకొని ఆ కృష్ణుడే కావాలి. ఈనాడు ద్వారకా నగరంలో జన్మించినటువంటి యొక్క కృష్ణుడు ఈనాడు నీకు కనిపించమంటే ఏ విధంగా కనిపించగలడు? ఆ దేహం ఉండినంత వరకు ఆ ద్వారక లోపల నడిచాడు, సంచరించాడు, సంతోషపెట్టాడు.
So Swami has given us a lot of hints and indications that, don't feel sad when this happens. Be happy, because I am now relieved from this confines of this body, as you were saying. It is an expansion. You should be very happy about it. Next. How do we utilize the form to experience the formless?
Slowly experience experience.
Yes, sir.
Slowly experience, take that like we have a phone now, we will be formless too. Same way like anything as good, there will be drained one. It's like a slowly practicing yourself that you are, in the body now, but you have the Atma, so Atma is without body. You slowly thinking like formless God. Same way you think you are the form of the God. And practice, and if you build the gap, but every day we think something, or every day it becomes common practice. So like you are sitting now, your relatives in India, you can just 1 second be there without even thinking. So same way, if you are formless and form, you think about, you can be with the, what we call Shanti or that. But you need to practice everything.
So thinking, maybe contemplating on the formless.
Sitting samadhi and thinking about like a formless God. Some people think like Soham kind of a things.
Soham, meditation.
Soham, somebody says Om Shanti, somebody says Shiva, somebody
Sure.
says Om. Anyway, whatever takes you there, just practice a little bit, little. Not going to be first thing, you are going to be there. Who knows, after months or years later.
Sure. So gradually.
Yeah, we're constantly thinking of the experiences we had with the form.
Contemplating on
contemplating
the experiences,
the bliss we had.
the bliss we had.
And constant studying of Swami's literature and trying to follow his principle. It's one of the main things he wanted us to do.
Absolutely.
I guess for me, because I've never been to Bharti or anything like that. So when I got to know Swami, it was more of my attachment to his form. I mean, he's so beautiful, and the way he walks and the way he smiles and all that stuff. You just want to love him so much and want to get to know him so much. And then once you get to know the form, you get to learn the teachings, and then you implement those teachings and the love and the service and all of that to everyone you see. And for me, I guess it was my patience, and how to be patient and how to love them and serve them when they need it the most.
Yes?
I think a little more on the lines of what Aarti was saying. When you first see Swami, the reaction he invokes in you is the reason you want to keep going back to see him when he was in that physical form. And that reaction is, for that moment you see him, at least personally, you lose consciousness of your individual self, your worries, your stress, your desires, everything seems to be paused, and you just seem to be in this moment where you're experiencing something that you can't necessarily put into words, but it just feels right. And it feels like you want to be there a lot more. And so I think that's the key for me to say, what was that? And why did I feel that when I felt it? And how can I always feel that? How can I get to that place personally? Light in the moment, not constrained by the body.
Okay. Yes, Rita.
Earlier you talked about the attribution, right, of the form, or of God himself. What are those attributes of God that you really like, that you are really attached to? I think as time progresses, as you see those attributes elsewhere, then it probably becomes easy for you to, if it's that attribute that you truly are attached to, that you liked in that form, I think it probably makes it easy for you to actually move beyond the form as you see that attribute everywhere else, wherever it exists.
Yes?
I think on a more literal level, like a couple people have mentioned, the feeling that you feel when you're in Bharti. And for those who maybe have not been to Bharti, it was a form who gave us our discourses. It was a form who we had to physically worship. And so to imagine that form sitting in your heart, you know, we are never away from the avatar eyes. He's only as far as the space from our hearts. To actually imagine the orange robe and big hair sitting inside your heart and feeding him and, you know, water, food, love, care, and being able to imagine that form in the individuals around us is much easier than to imagine some formless God in the individuals around us.
That's good. That is one way of utilizing the form to go to the formless. Any other thoughts? Okay. Let's play what Swami has to say. You can hit this, yeah.
బల్బులు ఒక పవర్ ఉన్నది. ఈ పవర్ అంతా కూడాను కొంతకాలం వరకే ఉంటుంది. అంటే అవతారంలన్నీ కూడాను బల్బులు వంటివి. కానీ ఆ యొక్క పవర్ తగ్గిపోతాది, ఆ బల్బ్ మీకు కనిపించదు. ఇతని అవతారంలన్నీ కూడాను అనేక రకములైన అవతారములు ఎన్నో వచ్చినవి. దానిని మాత్రమే మీరు స్మరించుకొని, దానిని మాత్రమే స్థిరం చేసుకొని, మీరు దానినే నీకు ఆధారం చేసుకోవాలి. అంతేకాని ఆ ఫామ్ ఎప్పుడు ఉండాలి కానీ మీరు ఆశించకూడదు. నీవు పుట్టినటువంటి బాలుడవు, ఇప్పుడు ఎంతో పెద్దవాడైపోయినావు, కాలేజీ బాయ్ అయినావు. కానీ ఇది ఎంతకాలం వచ్చింది? కొంతకాలమే. తిరిగి మార్పు చెందుతుంది. నీకు మ్యారేజ్ అవుతానే నీకు కుమారుడు కలుగుతాడు. అదే విధంగానే అవతారములన్నీ కూడాను వచ్చినవన్నీ కొంతకాలం మాత్రమే ఉంటాయి.
So this is a method that Swami gives us, this notion of concentration. You probably must have studied this in study circle. This notion of concentration, contemplation, meditation. I think we touched upon it as a way to experience the formless. Right? You are contemplating on maybe whatever experiences you had with Swami, or maybe you're contemplating the bliss you had when you were singing this bhajan, or the bliss you had when you were doing whatever it is. And you're continuously concentrating and contemplating on that, and at some point you are so immersed in it that it just becomes meditation. And so that's, Swami said, that's one way to experience the formless. So let's just play that. Just hit the mouse. Use the mouse.
ఇప్పుడు 3 రకములైనటువంటివి ఉంటున్నాయి. ఒకటి కాన్సన్ట్రేషన్ అన్నారు, రెండవది కాంటెంప్లేషన్, మూడవది మెడిటేషన్ అన్నారు. కాన్సన్ట్రేషన్ అనేటువంటిది తాత్కాలికంగా వచ్చినటువంటిది. ఇప్పుడు మీరు చూస్తున్నారు చూడు, అది మీరు ఈ రూపాన్ని చూస్తుంటే అది కాన్సన్ట్రేషన్. అది కొంచెం కదిలిపోయినటువంటి కాంటెంప్లేషన్ అవుతుంది. కొంతకాలంలో అది శాశ్వతంగా నిలిచిపోతుంది. అది శాశ్వతంగా నిలిచినప్పుడే అది మెడిటేషన్. కనుక దానిని మీరు మెడిటేషన్ చేస్తుంటే అదే నిజమైనటువంటి యొక్క శాశ్వతమైనటువంటిది. మీరు ఎక్కువ కాన్సన్ట్రేషన్, కాంటెంప్లేషన్ రెండింటిపైన మాత్రమే మీరు సవాల్ చేస్తున్నారు. ఇవి రెండు కూడా శాశ్వతాలు కాదు. అయితే ప్రప్రథమంలో కాన్సన్ట్రేషన్ చేయాలి. ఈ కాన్సన్ట్రేషన్ కాంటెంప్లేషన్ కింద మార్చుకోవాలి. అనగా కొంతసేపు కదిలి కొంతసేపు కదలకుండా ఉండేటువంటి స్థితికి తెచ్చుకోవాలి. అట్టి రూపము ఎట్టి కాలం వచ్చినా, ఎట్టి టైం వచ్చినప్పటికీ కదలదు, మెదలదు. కన్నును మూసిన తక్షణమే అదే నీకు కనిపిస్తుంది. మూసిన తెచ్చినా కూడాను అదే ఉండేటువంటిది. అదే నిజమైన మెడిటేషన్. ఋషులందరూ అట్టి మెడిటేషన్ చేసిన కనుకనే ఎప్పుడు తలచినప్పుడు వాళ్ళ దగ్గరికి వచ్చి వారితో మాట్లాడి వారి కోరికను తీర్చుతూ వచ్చింది. అట్టి మార్పు చెందినటువంటి యొక్క సత్యమైన, నిత్యమైన, శాశ్వతమైనటువంటి యొక్క స్వరూపాన్ని మనం హృదయంలో నింపుకోవాలి. ఏ రూపమైనా సరే మీరు దానిని ఇదే అది అని రాముడే, కృష్ణుడే, సాయిబాబానే అని భేదములు పెట్టుకోకండి. ఈ రూపములన్నీ కూడా మారుతూనే ఉంటాయి. కనుక మనము నిరంతరం కూడా ఎప్పుడూ మెడిటేషన్ చేస్తాము అని అనుకోకూడదు. కూర్చొని కళ్ళు మూసుకుంటారు, మెడిటేషన్ అంటాడు. అది మెడిటేషన్ కాదు. ఒకవేళ నీవు థింక్ చేయొచ్చును, కానీ అది చలించేటువంటి యొక్క మనసు, ఒక స్థిరముగా ఉండేటువంటి దాన్ని నువ్వు మెడిటేషన్ అని చెప్పాలి. చలించేటువంటి దానిని మెడిటేషన్ అంటారు. అది కాంటెంప్లేషన్.
So, at least what I understood from that is, when you are in the physical presence, listening to it, you are concentrating. And concentration is the most impermanent, because the moment the Swami's physical presence is done, you are no longer concentrating on it, because that is gone. But then later on, when you ruminate on that, you are contemplating. But still, that is not permanent, because you recall it periodically at different times, and then you are able to bring it back and ruminate on it. That is contemplation. But when you are constantly, thinking about it, without, it doesn't even go away, right? Whether you close your eyes or open your eyes, whatever it is, it remains the background, the foundation, the basis. Then it is meditation. That's what I heard Swami say here. So you can pick a form, whatever form it is. In this case, if it is Swami, then you concentrate, contemplate, and meditate on it so much that that form is constantly in front of you. And that is a way to cross that boundary between form and formless, because then you are looking at it everywhere. The form is everywhere. You see the form everywhere, whatever it may be. That's what I understood from this. If others have some other thoughts on this, please feel free to share.
How you move from so many forms to one form, like Krishna, Rama,
I think it's important to pick one. You have to pick one.
But I mean, sometimes you feel you feel betrayed. Like I say, sign is gone, so no, he's not good. Then you feel like you're betraying one, getting another.
Stay with one then. Swami said it's easier to dig in one place 100 feet as opposed to 10 feet in 10 places. You have more chance of hitting water. If you can dig 100 feet, might as well dig in one place.
I believe rather I was told that Swami said, I believe, there is only one chair in your mind and there can be only one person.
That's right.
So instead of going on contemplating on many things and many forms, you should stick to one form.
There's a story Swami says, it's an old story. There was this person who wanted something. So he installed, somebody said, hey, if you pray to this Vishnu, he will give you whatever you want. So he immediately went and bought the Vishnu idol, put it in his altar and started praying. Nothing happened. So he said, what nonsense this form is useless. So he went, somebody else said, you pray to Durga, she will give you everything. So he took the Vishnu idol, put it away. And then he prayed Durga. Nothing happened. Then somebody else said, actually you should pray to Shiva. So he brought a Shiva idol, started praying, nothing happened. In fact, he put the most effort praying for Shiva idol, nothing happened. He was really disappointed. Shiva was the most disappointing. So then somebody said, pray to Krishna. So he brought a Krishna idol. So while he was praying to Krishna one day, the Shiva idol was on the top shelf, being ignored. He was, lighting the agarbatti and all the nice incense. Then he noticed that the incense was going towards the Shiva idol. And he was so mad that, why should Shiva smell this beautiful incense? So he took a piece of cloth and he tied it around Shiva's face, the idol's face. At that time, the Lord Shiva appeared and said, what do you want? He was completely surprised. He said, what is this? I prayed to you the most and you disappointed me the most. Why you are praying now? I am praying to Krishna. He said, no. He said, only today you believed that I really was in the idol. Because you thought I was really there. So I showed up. So the Swami tells this story. You have to pick one and stick with it. Believe it. Visualize it everywhere, and that's one way. That's the pole. You can't change poles halfway when you're going up. If you leave the pole, you're going to come back to square one. Okay, next one. So, this goes on for another 15 minutes. So, do you want to stop or do you want to continue?
We'll continue. I think we can continue for another 20 minutes.
20 minutes?
And then take a 15-minute break and then devotion.
Okay. So then, please answer this question. So if I am not the body, what is my true nature? And then what is this notion of body consciousness? Swami keeps on saying, right? All of you think you are the body. All of us think we are the body. What is this problem we have? Why, even though we are definitely not, according to Swami, we absolutely believe we are the body?
Because of the attachment, body attachment.
So what is this body attachment? What form does it take? Why? What is...
The attachment comes because we can see it, and as humans, we believe what we see. So we see this body doing things, and so we think it's real. And that's why
We believe what we see.
I mean,
Have you seen Neil Armstrong land on the moon?
No.
But do you believe that he went to the moon?
Kind of.
So that's not entirely true. We believe a lot of things that we don't see. But sometimes, but anyway, this body consciousness thing. Why is it? What is this thing? What is it?
It's our identity, what we feel we are. When we think about ourselves, we think as I'm a citizen of this country, I'm a son of these two parents, and I come from this state, and all these identities, which are all, when you think of it, all are body conscious. I'm citizen of this country, or I'm born in this, and this is the language I speak, and this is the state, this is my state, this is my town, and all this is my religion. All these things are related to body, and when we continue our life with all these thoughts, and all our acts are based on this thought, I feel that's what becomes body consciousness. We're continuously acting like that.
Yes, sir.
I think body consciousness is, in my opinion, it's like a state where I can experience the nature within the 5 realms of the senses that control us. That it is in that state I call a body sensation, a mere presence.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
It's our most immediate experience, the body, the physical, and it's continually reinforced by our environment, by the society we live in, by objects. They all behave in a certain predictive manner, and so we're very attracted to believing in this state of affairs. And we can get very lazy and continue on that. It takes an effort and visits to Swami or to other religious centres to persuade ourselves that this may, in fact, after all, not be all of the picture. It may not, in fact, be reality. But because there's this continual feedback which seems to us to be correct, we're seduced into thinking that what we experience through the 5 senses is real.
Yes.
I just want to sort of address the second part of one of the parts, which is what is our true nature. So the Swami says, actually meditation is our true nature. And in relation to that, Swami, in one of the discourses, he talks about this constant integrated awareness. And what struck me was, Swami said that that state, it actually is not limited to, just the waking state. He said that constant integrated awareness, it basically transcends even the waking, dream, deep sleep states, and it's ever there. So when we talk about meditative state or our true nature, it's very easy to think it's just limited to our waking state, but it's something much more profound and much more than what we think. So that's what I was struck by that discourse. And
so So I'm not the body. What is my true nature? I think there's actually a saying that says, I'm not the body, I'm the supreme eternal self. So that is our true nature. So body consciousness becomes our comfort zone, becomes our kind of our, I would almost say our excuse to not experience that supreme eternal self and kind of live our lives in a comfort zone of this is me, this is my vocation, this is the food I eat, this is the vacations I take, this is the money I make. And you need to get to the true nature piece, which is the supreme eternal self. The first step is that awareness. That to step out of that comfort zone actually gives you more than something you're experiencing there.
Is body consciousness, does body consciousness cause a lot of problems?
When it is physical pain, it does.
Yeah, it does.
So, but when we still are comfortable, we feel that it is our comfort zone, even though it's full of problems. That's amazing, isn't it?
The older you get, the more the problems.
Well, the physical body is just one manifestation of body consciousness, right? You know, our ownership of our relationships, our feeling of ownership, our feeling of ownership of our position, of a feeling of ownership of our possessions. I mean, these are all related to body consciousness. And I think the physical one is probably the ultimate feeling of body consciousness. But we even at the lower levels, we have a lot of problems, right? So okay, I lost my wealth. But it's not yours to begin with. But we felt it is mine. Therefore, there is a sense of loss, and so that is a result of body consciousness. But you still are healthy, right? You still have your loved ones, but we still feel grief. The next thing is, okay, I lost my loved ones. That is again cause of grief, because somehow we feel that it is mine. And Swami also says that, and then of course when you lose your own health, then you get even more upset, right? So all of these are different levels of body consciousness, and yet we feel it is our comfort zone, and we want more of it. It's really ironic. I think, Swami says, one example he gives is, if you're acting in a play, maybe some of you have at some point in your life, let's say you're playing the role of Abe Lincoln, you're not dying, you're not dead, but your role is dead, right? And you are able to maintain that separation, when you're doing that. So Swami says you got to believe that. Because you are a son, you are a father, you are a brother, you are a sister, daughter, whatever it is, but all of this is not you. These are roles you're playing. But since we lose our sense of identity, we don't know who we really are, we believe that we are the roles that we are playing. So unless we know who we are, we will associate ourselves with the roles we are playing. And whatever happens to those roles affects us. Whatever happens to the roles is going to happen to those roles. Because those are the roles. They have been established that way. We can't expect that to not happen. They will happen. That's how it is supposed to be. But you are not the role. I got to tell you this other story. from the Bhagavatam. Once, Narada, do you know who Narada is? He's supposed to be this very great devotee of Lord Vishnu. And he was a bachelor, he was a sage and all that. So he asked Vishnu one day, I hear so much about your Maya. What is this? I don't think, people say that the Maya can make us forget about who we are and forget you. This is not, I would like to know about it. So Vishnu said, oh, okay. He says, why don't you, there's a river down there that's flowing down the river. Go get me a pot of water. I'm thirsty. So Narada says, sure, why not? So he goes to the river. And as he's walking towards the river, he sees this utterly beautiful lady who is picking water from the river. And his jaw drops. He says, this is such an amazing person. I have to know who she is. So then this lady picks up she collects her water and she keeps walking and he keeps following her. And she's nervous, who is this guy who's following me? So she goes into her father's hermitage. And she tells her father, there's somebody following me here. And then she goes inside. Then the father sees Narada and says, who are you? Narada says, I am Narada. I am so-and-so. I am fallen in love with your daughter. I wish to marry her. So the father is actually pretty happy because Narada is well known. He's got credentials. So he says, okay, wonderful. And so they have a nice marriage. They establish their hermitage, next door, a few blocks away, on the river banks. And they have a very happy married life. They have one son. Then about 3 or 4 years later, they have another son. So they're living very happily. They visit they visit the father's home now and then. They're really enjoying themselves. One day there is a massive flash flood coming down the river. And the father's hermitage is upstream a little bit. So they have no time. They quickly collect the belongings. They go up a tree, but they see their father's house being washed away. Right? And everything is destroyed. And it's coming on, it washes away their house. And then the water is rising up and comes to where they are on the tree. And he's desperately holding on to his wife here and his son there. And he's like, screaming and yelling. And his wife, gets washed away. And he's like shocked. His wife is drowning in front of his eyes. Then his other son gets washed away. And another son gets washed away. And he's just, you can imagine his grief. You can imagine. He's inconsolable. He's crying, he's screaming, the waters die down, he crashes on the banks and rolling in grief, utterly destroyed. Then somebody taps him on his shoulder. He hears a voice, he looks back and he hears a voice, where's my water? So, Swami, I think, keeps trying to tell us that, you are not all this stuff. But somehow, we are not able to get it. We're not able to get it. The best thing is, another analogy is, we all have dreams, right? Vivid dreams, where we really believe that we are there. Right? You may be somewhere else, living in Africa and living happily. Maybe you're a king, whatever it is. You believe that. We do believe that. At that time, I don't know whether lucid dreams, I think they call it. And then you wake up and that's all not true anymore. Right? So, but we are true. I was there in both the instances. I was there when I was a boy. I was there when I had hair on my head. I was there when I got married. I was there, I'm there now. But I am the only one that is permanent. Everything else continuously changes, and it will change. My sons will grow up, they'll go on, they'll move on. Who knows, right? Who knows what will happen? But that's all going to happen. And I'm just, Swami says, I read a quote in your wall of inspiration. You can live in the world, but the world should not live within you. Right? So, you've got to believe it, I think. We can't complain that there is something wrong with the world. We can't complain when things go wrong. We can't complain when we are struck with grief, because we are not doing what we're supposed to do to avoid those things. Okay, let's play the next. Mouse.
ఉన్నత స్థితిలో ఉండేటువంటివి. ఇది నా దేహము, ఇది నా భవనము అని చెప్పినంత మాత్రం అవంతా కూడాను భౌతికమైనటువంటివి. దిస్ ఇస్ మై బాడీ మీన్స్ మై ఈజ్ సపరేట్. మై టమ్లర్ సపరేట్, నేను సపరేట్. కాబట్టి అదే విధంగానే నా దేహము, నా మనసు, నా బుద్ధి, నా చిత్తము, నా ఇంద్రియము, నా అంతఃకరణ అనుకుంటే ఇవన్నీ సపరేట్ అయినటువంటివి. కాబట్టి అన్నింటికీ నీవు సపరేట్ అయినటువంటి వాడే నీవు. కనుక నీవు సత్యనిత్యమైనటువంటి యొక్క సత్వాన్ని పొందాలనుకుంటే నీవు సరైనటువంటి ఆత్మతత్వాన్ని గురించి తెలుసుకోవాలి. ఈ సత్యమైనటువంటి ఆత్మస్వరూపము ఒక్క ఉపనిషత్తుడు కానీ భగవద్గీత, భాగవతము, రామాయణము దీనితో వచ్చేటువంటిది కాదు. భగవద్గీత శ్లోకం చెప్తుంది కానీ తెలుపుతుంది కానీ దాన్ని చూపించదు. యదా యదా ఈ ధర్మస్య జ్ఞానిర్భవతి భారత అభ్యుద్ధానం ధర్మస్య తదాత్మానం సృజామ్యం. అదేవిధంగానే వేదాంతం కూడా చెప్తుంది కానీ వేదాంతం దైవత్వాన్ని నీవు స్మరించు, దైవాన్ని నీవు హృదయంలో ప్రతిష్ఠించుకో అని చెప్పదు. ఈ బాడీ అనేటువంటి ఒక బాక్స్ వంటిది. దీంట్లో మనసు, బుద్ధి, చిత్తము, ఇంద్రియము, అంతఃకరణ అన్ని కూడా ప్యాక్ చేసుకుని ఉంటుండాలి. ఎప్పుడు ఇవన్నీ పోతానే అప్పుడు బాడీ కూడాను నాకు ఇది ఎంత పని ఉంది అని అది కూడాను పసుపు అవుతుంది. ఈ మెటీరియల్స్ ఉండేంత వరకు మాత్రమే ఈ బాక్స్ నాకు అవసరము. ఈ మైండ్ పోయిన తక్షణమే నాకు చాలా కుదిరింది అని అనుకోకూడదు. నువ్వు మైండ్ పోతే బుద్ధి ఉంది, బుద్ధి ఉండినంత వరకును అంతఃకరణ ఉంటుండాలి. అంతఃకరణ పోయిన తర్వాతనే ఈ యొక్క దేహం కూడా కూలిపోతుంది. బహిర్ముఖమైనటువంటి యొక్క గుణములను మాత్రం ఆధారం పెట్టుకొని మనం అనేక కోపము, తాపము, ఈర్ష్య, అసూయ, డంబము ఇట్లాంటివంతా మనకు వస్తున్నాయి. కానీ ఎప్పుడు అవన్నీ పోతాయో అప్పుడే నీవు శాంతి. అవి ఉండినంత వరకు నీకు శాంతి కుదరదు.
Next. So in the next section, Swami says, love, 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 love. It comes back to that. Love is the answer. Love, you just forget about all these philosophies. Forget about all this formless, all this stuff. Just practice love. Love everyone. Serve everyone. And you will get there. I struggle with body consciousness. Just yesterday I had a big argument with my son, by the way. My son. All right.
ప్రేమ ఉండినప్పుడు ఎవరిపైన ద్వేషం రాదు. మనకు ఎవరిపైన మనకు ద్వేషం చేస్తున్నామంటే మనలో ప్రేమ లేదు. ఎవరు ఏమైనా మనం తిట్టినారంటే మన కోపం రాదు. కనుక ఇవన్నీ కూడా ద్వేషాలంతా కూడాను ప్రేమ లేనప్పుడే మనకు వచ్చేటు. ఆ కోపం వచ్చినప్పుడు మనం ఎవరిని లెక్క చేయము. ఎప్పుడు నువ్వు కేర్ చేయలేదో అప్పుడు నీకు ప్రేమ లేదు. కానీ ఆ ప్రేమనే ఉంటే నిజంగా నీకు కోపం రాదు. నన్ను ఎందరో తిట్టుతుంటారు, ఎందరో నన్ను దూషిస్తుంటారు, ఎందరో నన్ను పరిహసిస్తుంటారు, కానీ దేనికి నేను కట్టుకోగలను. ఎప్పుడు కూడా నువ్వు ఆనందంగానే ఉంటాను. కనుక అదే నిజమైన ప్రేమ. కనుక మనం ఎప్పుడు నిరంతరం కూడా లవ్ ఆర్ సర్వ్ ఆర్ అవి రెండు మనం భద్రంగా పెట్టుకోవాలి. కనుక ప్రేమ అనేటువంటిది మనకు కలగాలనుకుంటే సత్యధర్మం రెండింటినీ కూడా ఏకం చేయాలి.
So the Swami says, right, if you have love, you can't hate anybody. If you have love, you can't get angry with anybody. So when you get angry with somebody, that means we need to practice love a little bit more. And it typically, in my experience, it happens with my immediate family. I don't know about all of you folks, but I get upset with my kids. I get upset, because they're the ones I interact with all the time. And when things don't go the way I want to, the way I expect it to, I get upset. And then I realize that, was that loving? Was that kind? So I think we all have our challenges. And Swami has given us so much. I cannot say, we obviously can't even know how much He has given us to help us through this journey. And He's assured us of success. And we just have to hold on to that and move forward. So the next piece is just the concluding part of Swami's discourse. And we can play that and listen to that. And after that we'll take a break. Sign off.
I think yours could be not the love. You have plenty love for your son, but
Yes.
forget the expectations.
Yes, I know that.
ప్రేమ ముదిత మనసె కలు కామ రామ నామాన్ని మీ మనసులో పెట్టుకొని ఎప్పుడు కూడా స్థిరంగా ఉండేటట్టుగా మీరు దాన్ని పెంచుకోండి. కాంటెంప్లేషన్ కాదు, మెడిటేషన్. అది ప్రేమతో మీరు మెడిటేషన్ చేయాలి. లవ్ లేకపోతే ఇవి రెండు కూడా నిల్చోవు కదా. కనుక అట్టి పర్మనెంట్గా ఉండడానికి ఆ ప్రేమ ధర్మము రెండింటిని కూడా ఏకం చేసుకొని నిజంగా ప్రేమను మనం పెంచుకోవాలి. అప్పుడే ప్రేమ నీకు నిలుస్తుంది. లేకపోతే టెంపరీగా చూసినప్పుడు ప్రేమ వస్తుంది, తర్వాత మర్చిపోతావు. డే అండ్ నైట్, నైట్ అండ్ డే ఎప్పుడు కూడా నువ్వు ప్రేమ ఒకటిగానే ఉండాలి. కానీ నీ మనసుకు కొన్ని అభ్యంతరాలు కలిగినప్పుడు నీకు కొంచెం ద్వేషంగా వస్తుంది. కాబట్టి ఇది మైండ్తో వచ్చేటువంటివే కానీ నిజమైనటువంటి ఆధ్యాత్మికం కాదు. టూ మచ్ టాక్ చాలా చెడ్డది. అది ఎక్కువ నేచర్ను హృదయంలో పెట్టుకున్నటువంటి వాడికి ఈ టాక్ ఎక్కువ అవుతుంది. కనుక నీవు టూ మచ్ టాక్ చేయొద్దు. దాన్ని సైలెంట్ అన్నారు. అని క్వైట్గా ఉండాలా. ఎంత మాట్లాడుతున్నా ఆ మాటకి ఎంతో అంత జవాబు. దానికి అధికంగా మాట్లాడితే దానికి అధిక ప్రసంగం అంటారు, అధిక ప్రసంగం అంటారు. అది మంచిది కాదు. కానీ పిల్లలకు అది చాలా ప్రధానము. ఈ వయసులోనే మంచి స్టడీ చేయాలి. టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ కాదు స్టడీగా చేయడం, మైండ్ని స్టడీ చేయలేవు. నువ్వు క్లాస్లో ఉన్నప్పుడు టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ నువ్వు చేయించుకోవచ్చు. మీకు అందరికీ సంతోషంగా ఉందా? ఆర్ యు ఆల్ హ్యాపీ? బీ ఆల్వేస్ హ్యాపీ, హ్యాపీ, హ్యాపీ.
Oh, you're stuck, isn't it? Sorry, I didn't play it.
Sana, Thank you, Swami, for the wonderful session, and thank you for sending such a wonderful messenger of yours to speak to us today. It was a very, very nice session here. Just wanted to thank Brother Harish for being here, taking time from his busy schedule to talk to all of us and share all these wonderful things with us. Thank you. Just as a small token of gratitude, we just wanted to give Brother Harish a small gift. Sir, we'll do a quick 10-minute break and then we'll convene again for bhajans. Thank you.